making memories last. Your time, my time, we all shine on the Really Charlie podcast. It's the Really Charlie podcast, making memories last. Your time, my time, we all shine on the Really Charlie podcast. It's the Really Charlie podcast, making memories last. Your time, my time, we all shine on the Really Charlie podcast. It's the Really Charlie podcast, a weekly show with the one person to make you say, "Really, Charlie?" on the Really Charlie podcast. Tune in. It's the Really Charlie podcast, a weekly show with the one person to make you say, "Really, Charlie?" on the Really Charlie podcast. Tune in. It's the Really Charlie podcast, a weekly show with the one person to make you say, "Really, Charlie?" on the Really Charlie podcast. Tune in. It's the Really Charlie podcast, a weekly show with the one person to make you say, "Really, Charlie?" on the Really Charlie podcast. Tune in. It's the Really Charlie podcast, a weekly show with the one person to make you say, "Really, Charlie?" on the Really Charlie podcast. Tune in. It's the Really Charlie podcast, a weekly show with the one person to make you say, "Really, Charlie?" on the Really Charlie podcast. Tune in. It's the Really Charlie podcast, a weekly show with the one person to make you say,
Hey,
"Really,
man.
Charlie?"
What's up, man? We're
Really
live.
Charlie podcast.
Hey, how are you, man?
Tune in.
All right. I'm going to kind of stop this music here and play my intro.
Okay.
Nice to see you once again, as always, man.
Thank you, my good brother.
All right. This is a long time coming.
I know we haven't been on together like this in a long
It's been a
time.
while, man.
Oh, man.
The judge told me to stay away from you.
I don't blame him.
Hold on.
They're the same.
It's the Really Charlie podcast. Yeah, it's the Really Charlie podcast. Yo, it's the Really Charlie podcast. Bump into your broadcast, grab a chair, fill your glass. Yeah, it's the Really Charlie podcast. Yo, it's the Really Charlie podcast. Yeah, it's the Really Charlie podcast. Bump into your broadcast, grab a chair, fill your glass.
Hey, welcome to the Really Charlie podcast on WNB1 Radio. And my guest today, we have two guests. First guest is Coach M100. This is Marvin Speller, my man, my fam. I love this dude. He's always got plenty of things to teach us, to conversate with us. And I am so glad when he comes on the podcast. And momentarily, probably in about 20 or 30 minutes, we will have Leitao, Lindsey, who also will be on there. We're going to be talking about grief and mourning. Very, very important subject. It's real important, especially with family and friends going through certain things. And Marvin has definitely been through a heartbreaking experience, earth-shattering experience, the loss of his wife, Kristen Speller, who was my dear cousin. All right, man, what's going on?
Man, you know how it is. I'm glad the opportunity to interview with you because
Yeah.
I have not wanted to do anything like this.
Mm.
And, the past almost year has been incredibly, incredibly tough.
Yeah.
We all go through grief and we all go through losing someone that's close to us. And, this past year has taught me a life and it's ever, ever evolving. And so I was like, okay, I think I'm ready now. I'm ready to get going with this interview and really talk more. And um, Liz and I will talk more a little bit later about why come forward. What's the purpose of coming forward? But um, thank you. I think I'm ready. I think I'm ready to spill it, man, and let it rip.
All right.
And I'll say for the listening audience, this is going to be as real as it gets, and I'm not going to hold back. So I do apologize beforehand.
Mm-hmm. And you know what? No apologies needed. Only because you are going through something that needs no apology. Because nobody on this earth wants to go through it, and you are. So, Marvin, I'm going to send this podcast to your Facebook page.
Okay.
It's public, so that way everybody can interact on your end. And my end, I'm going to actually go to Liz's page before we get started, so that won't get me tied up, where my face is down and I'm doing other things, and when I should be paying attention to what you and Liz have to say. So, all right. Well, it won't let me go to her page right now, so all right.
Page may be private.
I'm just going to send it to her.
Okay.
That way she knows. All right. So this is something that I'm glad that you reached out to me. I'm glad that we can talk and conversate about this, and because there are a few others that I know that are going through the same thing, more or less, whether it's a spouse or whether it's a child or someone very, very dear to them. So, all right. What do you want to do? You want to start off with these questions and that I have for you, and
go ahead.
All right.
I'm ready to rip, man. I'm ready to let it flow.
Okay. All right. Well, like I said, this is all stemming through your loss, and Kristen was a dear friend of many, many people, thousands of people. That's an understatement, and also, she had very, very dear family members that truly miss her. And you're a soulmate. You're a soulmate. She said it so many times that you're a soulmate. And so, all right. Let me start you off with, how are you feeling?
Wow. That's pretty loaded. Great question.
Yeah.
Depends on the moment. With grief, it's you could be thinking about something and doing something else, and here comes grief, right? Grief is like a thief in the night. It comes, and it comes hard and fast, man. I got to tell you, first I want to take a step back. Kristen was the best person I ever met in my life. Let's go beyond wife. She was the best person I ever met in my whole life, and it's because so many intangibles about her. And I remember first meeting her, and it was like we organically grew into this amazing couple. And I give a lot of credit to her, and I found myself throughout the relationship, I felt like I was teaching her things, she was teaching me things, and maybe it's because I'm 6 years old. I don't know. But just the most. She's the most amazing, best person I've ever met in my life, and let's talk about the fact that I lost like 5 different people. Lost a best friend, a lover, a confidant, someone that can boost you, somebody who's just there for you every single day. I mean, I can go on with all these different attributes, and there's probably about 99 of them. She was just that type of person where she gave her all to everybody she met. It could be a total stranger, That's just who she is. I'm not going to say was. I'm going to say is, because I'm going to look at it as like the essence of her is still living, and I think it's something that I feel every day. I never feel alone. A lot of times I feel like crap, man, because you are connected on so many different levels, and you're connected from a DNA perspective as well, and you just feel so tethered to this person. Especially if it was like 1 and 1A or 1 and 1, right? Can't really say 1 and 1A, but man, it's this is the hardest thing I've ever gone through. And once you lose someone like this, you're gonna grieve. You're gonna grieve for the rest of your life, and that's okay. You learn to live with grief. This one's a little bit heavier. You know what I'm saying? Um, it's shocking still. I know a lot of people talk about the all the different stages of grief. This is so different because the stages of grief is not something that goes in a straight line. It goes 1 to 7 to 2 to 5 to 3 to 1. It's such a void that can't be replaced.
Exactly.
And so I think I am living, I am moving forward, and a lot of things I do is in honor. But let's not take away from the fact that I'm losing all these people, and I lost all these people, and just trying to, be the best version of myself every day. That's the only way to get through this, and live in the honor and the expectations. I'm so glad we had an opportunity just to chat like this, because I wanted it to be raw. I'm ready to kind of just let it go. And um, I 2 weeks ago was the first time I've ever gone and watched videos on YouTube of someone who lost a partner, because it was just so damn hard, man.
Yeah.
And I know some people never talk about it. I was talking to a guy who went through grief recently, and he told me, he said, listen, I didn't call you back right away. He went through grief as well. His wife died a month and a half before Kristen passed. And so it was just, people go through grief differently. There's no one way to do it. I do know the way, and what I'm going through, at least right now, is to talk about it, which is totally different. I really wanted to go climb in a hole and just get the hell away from everybody. When this first started, I didn't want anybody near me. I didn't want any help. I didn't want anything. I just wanted to crawl somewhere, and whatever the hell happened, happened.
Wow. Kind of expected that, me personally, from you, because of the tremendous loss, as you said. She magnified into so many different things for you, and so. All right. What does the future look like for you?
A lot of things. I think for me, be the best version of myself and continue that trajectory. I mean, we had so many things we were working on, so many things we were doing, and so many messages that were provided to me from her. One was to get our daughter to a better place. That's moving in the direction it's going to go. But damn, man, there's a part of you where you just got to be the best version of yourself and honor of her, and that to me is my number one priority right now. That's everything. That's mentally, physically, spiritually, everything. You want to be the best version of yourself. There's no slack in here. It's about, come on. My statement every day is like, I don't give a damn if it's something you don't like doing. If it's something you got to do, you got to do. And it's like, the whole thing in my mindset is like, you got to make sure you got your shit together. That's on every level. You have to be that best version of yourself, and that's every day. And that could be anything, man. And it's that part is kind of mentally challenging, because you challenge yourself every day to be better, even if it's 1/10 of a million every day. to be better than the prior day.
Yes.
And
It
that
does.
takes a lot of work. And I don't know if that's maybe grief talking, you just don't know. And I do understand it's like going through grief, your mind takes you in all these different directions, right?
Yep.
Your mind is telling you this and creating stories. And you could be sitting somewhere and you could be like, well, why didn't you do this when you guys were together? Why didn't you do this? Why? How come you did? And your mind's taking you on this path, and you're like, oh, wait a minute, just shut up for a minute. And so for me, I'm living vicariously through my heart more. I mean, you feel like all your senses are heightened. It could be like the best ice cream you've ever had in your whole life. And it says, oh man, this is so great. You just feel like your senses are so heightened. This is what I'm talking about. It's like I live more through my heart instead of my head. My mind is way too analytical at times. I'm like, okay, that's not going to work because it's going to send me down a path that's going to make grieving so much more harder to deal with. But when you do things vicariously through your heart, you just love more. You're intense with things, and you try to balance that out between the love and just doing things you need to do to be a better version of yourself.
Absolutely. Um, the off script. How do you maintain? Well, I'm going to get back to it. Let me stick with these questions here. What's the biggest lesson from Kristen? What is your biggest lesson that you learned or haven't learned? I got to say that too, right?
Yeah, I was telling. I was actually talking to Angela today.
Mm-hmm.
I was talking to Angela today, and I was talking to her about the story that I've told some other people. When I came into Kristen's life, I felt like it was a lot of learning lessons on both sides. I felt like we were learning a lot. I felt like I was teaching her a lot of things. But, when you get to a point where you start asking questions in life, you become a learner or a student. Once you're in that for a while, the teacher appears in your life.
Mm.
At some point in your life, the master could potentially appear. Kristen was clearly my master. She was somebody where when she was going through cancer, just how she handled it with grace, just being so damn courageous, man, and just the will to fight. Yeah, that's my the biggest lesson was like when you think you have a level that you achieve, there's a whole nother damn level you need to get to. And
Yeah.
sometimes you just gotta quit. You just gotta quit the excuses and keep going. I remember one time she was telling me, it's like, well, how come you didn't really get to this? How come you weren't able to? And I was like, I was pissed off. I was like, you know what? She's right. And that was the whole thing is like, she knew how to hold people accountable in the most loving way.
Mhm.
And so her ability to give me this piece throughout my whole tenure and ongoing was like, you know what? You can do it. You got to keep pushing forward. And that to me was the biggest lesson I hope for every day. Some days where I just may not feel like it. It's like I hear that voice in my head. Keep going, keep going, keep pushing, keep pushing. And those are lessons that continue to go. And man, I could talk hours about that because that to me and to funnel that all the way down, I would say that that's the biggest lesson ever. You're capable, you can do it. And she her and I had an aunt that was just like that. Was always pushing. You can do it. Always that whole belief system they give you, and you meet a couple people like that in your lifetime is amazing. But in order to honor them, you got to take that and run with it.
Yeah, exactly. The what do you miss? What do you miss about her?
Well, I gave you all the attributes, right?
Yeah.
Just oh man, the best wife ever. And I'll briefly touch on this. there's that spiritual force of women,
Mm-hmm.
the feminine, the
Yep.
spiritual force of women that makes their greatness, right? She had that on so many different levels, right? Man, that piece of her, and she combined that with just being that old-fashioned feminine type of wife. That was near and dear to my heart. And she lived vicariously through that. She picked it up from my mom.
Mm-hmm.
Her mom was the type of person, gave her so many old-fashioned values, and to me, that's just the way to go. And the selflessness about her was unmatched. You know, there's this thing out here, people date, and it's like these people kind of flip their intentions and how they are around, because they spend all their time having to prove something to somebody else, which me personally, I think is a bunch of garbage.
Mm-hmm.
Care for this person, you love for this person, you guys build together. That's what made it so special. A great, a fantastic wife, just being an incredible lover, just the love she gave. You know, when we got married, I said, listen, the only thing I need from you is just to be lovable.
Mm.
Man, she hit that thing out the park, man.
Yeah.
And that's, anybody would know her would say she was full of love.
Mm-hmm.
And you could just feel it. And to me, that was her superpower. Her superpower was clear. She knew how to eliminate that illusion of separation between one person and another. And in reality, it truly is an illusion. She knew how to separate that so you feel the oneness of being around her. And this is what I love so much about her.
Awesome.
So
I can go ahead.
I hope I made sense, but I was trying not to go too deep with that, but wanted to scratch the surface of that, my brother.
Yeah. Well, I don't care if you were on all day and all night. That's still not enough for your wife, right?
Oh my gosh, man.
Always something more to add when it comes to her.
And you know what? This woman, beyond a doubt, we could be in the same room all day and wouldn't be tired of each other. Every
Mm-hmm.
time I came home, or I saw her, we both had a smile and love on our face, man. And that's, you see people get together and they're just miserable and they're hoping to have a great connection. I tell everybody, you're wasting your goddamn time, because, you know, life on this plane is finite.
Mm-hmm.
And you should always be around people that love you, people that want to be around you. Nothing should feel forced. Nothing ever felt forced with her. And like I said, man, incredible wife, but damn, even better person.
I agree. Well, you got the wife part covered. I got the person, She just, it is just every conversation was something that was a living, learning lesson for me with her, and something I didn't see in the or mention in the conversation she brought up.
Oh gosh. Oh
and
man.
And I'm like, wow, all right, you know what? Now that you mention it, yes, you are absolutely right. So the I see Liz is on the screen.
Okay.
So
you can bring her on. You can finish some more questions. I tell you what, let's do that. Let's bring her on.
All right.
Let's I'll say hi. She can introduce her. I got a couple things to say, and then you can finish some questions, and we'll let her. Me and her will talk about what we're going to be doing.
Okay. Hello, Liz.
Hi,
Lindsey.
Charlie. How
What's
are you?
going on?
Hey, Liz.
I'm doing well. Hey, Marvin.
How you doing?
Thank you for
you.
coming on this podcast.
So Liz, real quick, do you want to introduce yourself? Because I got some things to say about you. I'm all about giving people their flowers while they're around, because I live vicariously through my heart. I don't know if you heard that part.
I appreciate you always, Marvin.
Thank you.
My name is Liz, last name Lindsey. I am on here for the first time, and I appreciate you bringing me on, Charlie, and Marvin, you introducing me to this podcast. I'm excited about it, and I'm excited to, let it.
Thank you, Liz. Yeah, so Charlie, we hadn't gotten to this part yet, but we haven't talked about what supporters look like. Go ahead and start with Liz. She told me at the celebration of life, she was telling me about, things she went through, and I knew about it, but she was like, hey, use me. It's like, I said, I'm in this mindset. I don't want to bother people. I don't want to burden people. For one reason, that's how I am. If I'm somewhere lost, I'm going to gas up and not ask anybody for help. That's just who I am all day long. So she said, no, use me. So I was like, okay. So I started calling her. We were talking once a month and really going into this thing about grief. And it was a sounding voice. And she's a part of this tribe of people, just lovely people who were some of Kristen's closest friends. And all of them have shown me nothing but love along the way. And Liz, I can never thank you enough. I appreciate you. I appreciate the love you sent me. Listen, I love this woman to death. I knew her for years, but starting to know more about her story, just amazing woman. And for her to reach out and be like, hey, use me. And then she was the one that came up with the idea, we'll talk about in a second, of what we're going to be doing. That was Liz's idea. She was like, hey, we should do a podcast. I was like, all right, I'm down.
I'm ready.
So, yeah, so
I'm
this
glad
is who Liz is. Yeah, this is the type of person that Liz here is, somebody that gives her heart to people. So, Liz, do you want to talk about what we're going to be doing real quick?
Well, that's so hard to follow, Marvin. Thank you so much for those kind words. I really appreciate you. And Charlie, I don't have to tell you about Marvin. He's, he's a million amazing things in one. And, him and Kristen were just a match in so many ways. So I, Marvin's loss is a lot fresher than mine. My loss of my husband has been 6 years. So
sorry to hear that.
Thank you. So it's been a long time coming, and and I thought Marvin would be the best person to go into this podcast with, which Marvin actually came up with the name, and it hit perfectly, which it's called Embracing Grief and Love. And I thought it hit so perfectly because for me, I was able to adapt to the grief, as hard as that was, but I wasn't able to adapt to love, joy, or happiness, or anything that came with that. So I kind of put myself in a box called grief, and I lived that way. So here we are 6 years later, Marvin almost a year later, and we just want to share our stories with other people and try to have a safe space where people can talk and grieve and mourn and get through it together.
Okay. I see some comments on there, and there are some people in the audience that have suffered some grief that I know. And this comment's kind of long, so I'm just gonna, that's how long it is. So I'm gonna just I'm gonna read it.
Okay.
So y'all can hear it. It says, in the past 2 years, I've dealt with grief on top of grief, on top of more grief, and you are absolutely right. The waves don't come in order, and they came all over and unexpectedly at times. Losing my son last year has turned me into such a different person. If it weren't for my other children, I would be living in that dark hole. And I got that. Let me see. It says I got out every day, whether it would be work or just run errands or put on a brace face. Yeah, deep down inside, I'm not okay. Living every day when something in your soul is. I had to say that because see how quick this all happens. See your brainstorm and everything that was going on in your life, and what you wanted to do, and boom, there's someone here in the audience going through something. And so I want to just let you know that what you're doing is on the right path, whether you know it or not. But it's already supported, and we only been on a few minutes.
Thank you, Charlie. Like I said in the beginning, I didn't want to talk to anybody about this. Hell, I didn't want to be bothered. But I feel like I owe it to myself first to be able to maneuver through this. I need to talk about it. I had an uncle who went through this with my aunt many years ago. He told me about talking about it, and I just didn't feel like it. There's a lot of things that Liz and I go through on our podcast. I call them quirks. Things you go through when you're grieving a loved one and a spouse, and being a widower. It's like you have all these different quirks. You're really not the same person again. I was sharing with Angela today. It was like I went out to Oklahoma this past weekend, had a great time. And it was the longest I've really ever been around someone since Kristen's passed. So I saw my mom last month, but yeah, I just didn't. And I'm usually the opposite. I could be around people all day long. I get energy from people, but I mean, I felt like it's time. I didn't want to be around anybody, and I'm building that back up. I feel like the greater part of me is coming back alive again, which I remember I was going through a real bad time in December. My mom said something that really stuck. She was like, listen, I need you and the world needs you. And that to me was put me on this path of just being clear what I need to do. And I explained to you earlier, I got to be the best version of myself, if not for anybody else, for me. Every single day, I got to be the best. And that way I can better serve others once I'm at a better place. So I don't know. My mind may change a month from now. When you're going through grief, you got all these different quirks that you go through.
Marvin, what caused Mom to identify that the world needed you? What caused it? Something she's seen, something you said to her?
Probably was that thing where I wasn't myself. I wasn't that optimistic. I wasn't that person that was like believing that no matter what, things are going to work out.
Yeah.
That's just me. That's who I am. And then on top of that, I had a lot of anger, which I still do, but it's a little bit more balanced. I don't have that. I didn't have that twin activated. That side of me that's like laser focused and just got to get stuff done. And the other side of me is that other person, right? So you know, hell, my mom, you know, my mom always says, she always says 9 months, no charge. Both of y'all met her. You know, what you see is what you get, right? And she she always say 9 months, no charge when she tells me something. So, you know, people that you're around, like I told you DNA before, people who you have been DNA with each other, she always say 9 months, no charge. So it's like, hey, I know you. No matter how much you try to hide it all the time. I could be somewhere and talk to her. She can pick up a little inflection in my voice and be like, what's wrong? I'm like, nothing. That's how Mom's doing, man. Liz knows that. She's a mother.
Definitely. So Liz, how you feeling?
I feel good.
All right. I'm just taking the cues of my friend Coach M100 over there, and that was the first question that I asked him, how he was feeling. And this is something that's amazing. And whether you continue to do this through a podcast or a Zoom or whatever, I just hope that you do continue it, because I'm going to support you every step of the way. I'm going to watch every show that you possibly have. And I'm going to kind of share it, everything. So I just want to let you know I'm here for you, both of you.
We appreciate that.
We appreciate that.
That's what we need. the support that you're giving us, that's just going to keep us going. So we really appreciate that.
Yeah, we're going to be fed by that, just like I got fed from Liz's support. That stuff is cyclical because it's like everybody starts to feel that. And speaking of support, man, I got to tell you, Liz knows this, man. There are so many people that really stepped up. It was mind blowing over the past year, the type of love I've received. Oh my gosh, man! It's I mean, you're feeling such the balance, right? You can't have one without the other in life, right? So I went through something really, really tragic. The worst feelings I've ever had in my life. Coming out of that, I mean, just so much love. Man, I can't put it in words. So many people stepped up, call randomly, things they can do to support. I kind of wish I was in other parts of the country going through this because, being in LA, a lot of people put their heads down and go to work and do what they have to do. And I've had some really close people out here who've been there, and it's been so great because it's like the ones that couldn't be there, I don't take it for what to say when someone's going through something. So I stay at the place being grateful. Easier said than done,
Yeah, what you go to, people, places, or things. Talk about this. Where do you like to?
Like
either or.
Surrounded me is what got me going and kept me going. I love to go to the ocean. That kind of soothes my soul when I'm feeling like. But I would say I would agree with Marvin. Complete strangers really stepped up, and that's what really got me through this because for even commenting, that means a lot, and I want to send my condolences to her. It's going, but it's very important to have people in your corner. It's very important to lean on people because they don't know what to say. They don't know what to do. But they want you to call them. They want you to lean on them. And, you said, how are we doing? I'm doing fine.
Yeah.
Whether they're doing okay or not, they're always going to say I'm doing fine. So I think just the people that are, in my corner and are present. I did hear you say that you just wanted to be alone. And I remember the first day when my husband passed away, I took my kids and I ran off to a hotel. And I didn't tell anybody where I was going. I just wanted to be alone. And looking back, I sat in a dark hotel room and cried the entire time. And it was probably the worst thing I could have done. But 3 of my closest friends found me. I don't know how. Came to the hotel. They came to the hotel and they, I was like, it was just a really dark time. Just like the woman had said when she commented, it's a dark time, but you have to rely on those, that are around you, that love you.
Yeah, and Charlie, just real quick, I love to back up what Liz is saying. This is why I wanted to talk about us and really building something like this because it's different for men and women to some extent, especially being a widower. And I've talked to other widowers.
Yep.
A lot of people have this perception that men can handle some of the grief a little bit better. not knowing that I'm broken into a million damn pieces, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's just a different perspective. There is some finer details between what men and women go through. But I also want to say about my support. I had some cousins that flew out here. One was in Baltimore, one was in Texas. I was so grateful for that. Some of my mom, Jill recently, and I had some really close friends here. Ever, but one of them came up to the celebration. He drove up 8 hours, but a friend of mine named Tim is probably the person that I know in life that I would say we think most alike. So we were able to kind of slightly unpack things along the way. But yeah, those people, they call themselves the Five Tribe, but I think there's about 5,000 of them. Especially the folks in Taunton, right? And I gotta say, people say what they say about Massachusetts. I love Massachusetts people. I got a Orioles fan,
Cheers.
diehard Orioles fan, but
Yeah.
they still in first place, brother. But I tell you what, I've got nothing but love. That's made a lot of difference during the grief, and then a lot of folks in the music community. I was there out in Oklahoma. The folks in the music community, and these people show me nothing but love. And like I said, I'm very grateful for it. I don't have time to process the folks that didn't do a damn thing. And like I said, I don't take it personal, maybe because everybody's always going through something too. Sometimes you may not have the bandwidth to give more. So I totally get
Yeah. True. It sometimes it just, like you said earlier, words, you don't know if you're going to say the right thing. You know, I don't want to trigger you, Liz. I don't want to trigger Marvin. I don't want to trigger you with something that I say. And because I don't know what to do next after that, right? What do I do next? If I trigger the word, if I said a word that triggered you in a certain direction, what do I say next? And
I mean, I get that, but I think sometimes selfishly I would say, yeah, I'm not gonna lie, and I wish more people would say it. And I hear this all the time. It's like sometimes if you can do better, you do better. This is what Kristen used to say. People can try harder, then damn, you just try harder. And how she was as a person, but I get it. That's what was uniquely her. But I also think the same time of that, I got to look at it on both sides. Sometimes you can do better, and yeah, and we all go through that in life. Sometimes we think about the people who are great. Sometimes people are just going through things. Never take away from the fact that people should always be accountable for their actions in their own way. Because that same person is going to go through some form of grief. They're going to need people near them as well. And I hope they didn't think about them, other people enough who just going through shit like this, and that they needed help, right? And they chose not to, right? So I mean, like I said, Charlie, I'm gonna come to you real, man. It's like you gotta look at it on both sides, where it's like people give their all, give their best, and some you just hope that whenever they go through something, they're not going through this thing where they're getting lack of people's best because you've seen it. Mm-hmm. And this is kind of, Charlie, you like ice cream, right?
Yes.
What's your favorite ice cream?
Vanilla, the original.
From where?
Anywhere.
Oh, really? Man. You're making it hard for me, brother.
All right. I'll say, all right, let's just say national known place, Cold Stone.
Okay. Right? Well, y'all got some good ice cream places in Massachusetts. Mm-hmm. Not like California, I got to say California. Yeah. But once you have the best, there is no going back. If you are an individual that's trying to be the best of everything that you try to do in life, You can't go back. You just gotta keep moving forward, brother. And
Exactly.
that is my mentality. Be the best at everything and just keep pushing forward.
I get a question for Liz. Since you both connected, and what have you learned from Marvin that you haven't expected?
I've learned a lot of things. Also, I thought that men grieve a lot different than women. And I've learned from Marvin that there's no difference. I used to hold it against. I used to always say, oh, when a man loses his wife, he moves on very quickly. He forgets about men and grieving. And I've learned from Marvin that that's not the case. That's not the case at all. And I learned from him guiding you want to live or you want to love again or any of those things.
Okay. Marvin, I asked you the same question, but what have you learned from Liz that you didn't expect?
I didn't know. Liz came across to me was like, it's going to take her a minute for her to warm up to people. Mm-hmm. It's going to take her a minute to share things with people. And she's been able to do that. And I always thought she was a graceful person. That's all the stories that Kristen told me about. And Kristen told me stories about all you guys. I keep saying that. It's like, I know all the secrets, so you can't hide nothing from me. But no, honestly, all of them. No, it's the style and grace and just her open up. I would have thought that it would have taken me far longer for her to be the type of person that will open up, and especially on the level of dealing with grief, because she had an amazing spouse as well. And for two people to get together, a lot of people don't want to dive into this, and so she was willing to do that, share her story, and so the wows, the big time wows keep coming my way, and so I learned from that fact is like, listen, you never know. That's what I look at. So that the biggest thing is like, Liz is a walking, breathing. You just never know.
Yeah, exactly. What's the next step? What are we going to do after this magnificent podcast? What are we doing after this? Either one of you.
Go ahead, Liz.
What are you doing? I mean, I'm support. So, but what are you going to do next after this?
Wow, what are we not going to do? I think this is going to be extremely successful. I think it's going to help a lot of people, but more so, I think it's going to help both Marvin and I get through what we've been going through. So I'm excited about it, and honestly, I don't know what's next. What's not next? I think we're going to be doing a lot more things once we get through this podcast.
Good.
I will share this truth, Charlie, and it's forcing me to be open to a what if. And that's not always been the easiest thing. So I'm open to whatever in life. You know what I'm saying? So that's been kind of the biggest thing. It's like, okay, we get this going high, because I have my preconceived notions of how things are going to be with everything in my life. And guess what? I can learn from others and that not be the case anymore. So I look at it as a growth moment. Someone that feels like, they have to grow, man, you're peeking in the dark right now, which is a great thing.
Yeah, I want to let you know that maybe it's just I'm using this word because of lack of another word, but you're a professional griever, and I hope that you guys take this opportunity to make sure things are transcribed, and if you can, put it in a book, put it in an Audible, put it into something that where someone can read, um, and do that for you as you go along from this step forward. And because those are a lot of books that I'm seeing out there, and so just keep it, even if it's something that you don't want to do, but make sure that things are transcribed where you can kind of fall back on it and say that, I spoke to Charlie Perry on this day, and this is what we talked about. Young lady named Heidi commented about what was going on in her life, and her son, loss of her son. Just keep all those things together just in case you do want to kind of put something in a book form. You know how I am. I'm always telling someone to write a book. Leave something on the shelf, leave something on the shelf for someone to read. So that's something I just want to say before I forget.
Thank you, Charlie. I think, I think,
Well,
like I said, you're peeking around in the dark. Anything could come out of this.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's the beauty of life, right? When you think about it. So I hold that space each day for new possibilities.
Yeah.
I think is incredibly important. You know, one of the things I kept saying was, I'll be damned if I'm gonna walk around like a walking zombie, which I felt like I was for a minute. Just being so damn consumed with grief, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you have these grief moments where you're like, oh my gosh, I'm all consumed. And that's why I do that analogy in head versus heart. You operate from the heart a little bit more. And the head I use as a tool, but the heart you can try to live by. And is it perfect? Absolutely not. But that head, man, that grief. I was in a grief moment because I'm always so busy. When I was in Oklahoma, I was sitting down on the couch on a recliner, and I just had this grief come over me. Like, could you have done more to save her life? Was there more you could have done long to prolong it? And you're stuck, and you're stuck in the seat, and you're feeling so out of body at that point, where you're like, holy mess, I'm all consumed. And then you start to catch yourself to reframe yourself. And Charlie, I tell you, it's like I went to coaching school. I felt like I was my own biggest damn client. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And just at that moment, I was like, holy. And to be so consumed with grief, it's like it's there. It's like a thief in the night, and it's like it's wrapped you in a bunch of crap. And it's like, you know what? You're gonna revisit this right now. And this is why I always say, Charlie, it almost feels like we live inside of a story. And this story plays itself out, and you're the actor in this story. And you're like, holy crap. And you see it certain times, you're like, man, I feel so out of body right now.
Mm-hmm.
And Liz and I will talk more about how grief hits you, but my goodness.
Yeah. It's there's a lot of different things going on, and I hope that both of you are comfortable enough to reach out to me at any point, any time, and but I'm here. I'm here because I need to, because I truly care about you guys. And Liz, I care about you just because you were my cousin's friend. And
Thank you
Liz,
so much.
yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, it's only 500,000, I think, Cape Verde in this country. I wouldn't be surprised if you guys are not cousins either.
Oh yeah. We now you're gonna make me go check on Ancestry. I got that.
Right.
And to tell you about Ancestry, I my first cousin came on my Ancestry. And they live right here. Amazing woman. and she has a child. And Ancestry has just made my year, especially 2024, just because I had met her, and which is leading in all kinds of directions of different things I'm trying to find out on my ancestry. But just want to mention that you talked about relatives. I'm getting to know some people that are right around me, and you don't get no closer than first cousin, other than child or mom
Liz,
or dad.
are you related to Suzette?
Are you asking me, Marvin?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Only thing I put that together was the
Leitao?
Yeah, the Leitao.
Yeah.
I was like, there's got to be something there because
Yeah.
rarely have I seen Cape Verdeans have a last name. They're not cousins somewhere down the road.
Right,
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
Kristen had a big giant family on both sides. I mean, just a big giant family.
Huge.
So, yeah.
Well, we gotta keep. Let me see. I got a comment here. Check it out. And hit me like a ton of bricks. Yes, this is my cousin. I call her my sister. Hit me like a ton of bricks when I least expect it every time. And she talks about her mom, who is my aunt.
Oh wow.
And definitely, Rhonda's going through a lot. She's raising children. She's maintaining a family. Her and her boyfriend, and they're doing a lot of positive things. But there's not one day in my in my life that I know she's grieving. And it may be a pretty smile on her face because of the beautiful family that she's raised. And then guess what? She could take a walk in the kitchen. I bet she's thinking about mom. So it's tough. Yes. So Rhonda, I want you to definitely keep in touch with Marvin and Liz because they're in that circle. They're in that grief and mourning. Definitely. I love that.
My heart goes out to you.
Yes, definitely.
You see, everybody's going through something like this, and this is what we want to do: get people to come because we can learn from each other.
Yeah.
It's got to be more than just the therapist talk about. What is it? Is it 5 stages of grievance or 7? You guys know?
I don't know. I'm sorry.
Okay. Liz,
I believe it's
7.
Yeah.
Okay. I think it's way more than that, but
I do too.
I just want to unpack some things that can help us, right? But help others. I mean, we learn from each other.
Right.
Not always being told things. We learn from each other.
Yeah, and this is my co-host here, Paula Young. She said there's no stages in grief. Paula had lost her son, from fentanyl poisoning. And we have a podcast tomorrow.
Okay.
And and she goes through a lot. Every moment of her life. And she's also being an advocate and go through what she's gone through, along with her husband Phil, who was another podcast host of mine on my other podcast. So it's here. Look, this is my story. If you guys share this podcast on your pages, you're going to see that there's other people in your community that are going through the same thing. Yeah, it
You
should
put
be.
that on Facebook, right?
Should be. Liz, I sent it through Messenger.
Yes,
We haven't.
I did.
Okay. Yeah. So you're right that so you're so right. We can learn from each other. I did counseling, depression, but in reality, it was working through the process of grieving my mom with what would be her first granddaughter. It took the community to realize that.
That's great. And like I said, my heart
Yeah.
goes out to her. And like I said, we don't have all the answers. No one does. It is learn, and that's what I love. Is like you can learn a lot from whomever, right?
Yes.
I'll go back to what I said before. Kristen's superpower was eliminating the illusion of separation. We got so much crap that causes on those barriers. We'll all be better for it.
Yeah, it's so true. All of us says we have to understand that each death is different. There's no word for a child lost but compassion. Yeah.
True.
Yeah. The podcast only because I see the idea, I see the brainstorm that you brought up, and this is going to be good. I really.
Yeah.
Are you going to set up something like on StreamYard? What are you going to do?
We have a Riverside app, and we're gonna.
Good. And video, so you can do it either way. And
We have an Instagram account as well.
can you let me know what it is?
Okay.
Oh my God!
Yeah. You can embracing grief. So it's embracing _ grief _ and. Correct.
And it's the same for the YouTube as well.
All right.
Charlie, do you want to type that in?
All right.
Okay.
I have a bachelor's degree, and it's taking me a little bit longer. All right.
Let me see if I can put it in the chat.
Okay.
Maybe that'll help.
Yeah, and then I'll copy it.
Absolutely.
You know, Charlie, I'm so grateful that you had this today, because that was a point an hour ago that I did want to do this. Grief will come on. Is like I started having these thoughts coming through my head that didn't make any damn sense, right?
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay.
Actually, but hasn't that been the whole year, or hasn't that been throughout? Yeah.
That's why it's taken so long.
Yeah. All right, trying to copy this. Oh, here we go. Right.
And Liz, thank you. While Charlie's doing, thank you for being so patient with me, because I'd ask you some really pointed personal questions, and you just rattled them off. So thank you.
Yeah. It's
Yes, for sure.
all right. I think this is right.
She's holding down the East
right.
Coast. I'm holding down the
That's
West
right.
Coast.
Mm-hmm. All right. So is that right?
Yes. Thank you.
On YouTube, it's the same
sir.
thing.
Yes. Content just yet, but we would appreciate the love and the support and the follow, and then they'll start to see the content coming in.
Then I'm gonna do a couple of share on my pages on Facebook and send you the MP4 so you can put it on your YouTube channel.
Mm-hmm.
Your channel and you search for this video on YouTube, do that. I'll send it to you both anyway, so you have it.
Thank you, brother.
And I my own account. So all right. I'm actually Marvin has answered this question numerous times already, but we're going to start with Liz right now.
What I like to see.
Could be local, could be anybody, you know. Could be a colleague that you think should be also, you know. So, but
Because I feel as though her grief is still so very, very heavy. And I think that would be good. No.
She is on YouTube listening to us. So, Angela, please, would definitely do it. If you need somebody to be along your side, you know, pretty sure that, you know, you all cry like waterfalls, you know, if that makes any sense. All right, and Marvin asked you the same question. Who would you like to see on the Really Charlie podcast?
It's funny. And see, Liz, this is what happened. I had that thought to Angela.
Wow.
Right before she said it, just popped in my head. And we think we are.
Absolutely.
And so yeah, I think that'd be good. I've got some others as well.
Yeah.
But what I can think about.
I'm gonna give you all a guess, right? Right off the top of my head, other than Angela, because she definitely should be your top of your list when it comes to guests. When you decide to have a guest, Marvin, I want you to ask your mom to get on here, right? Get on your show, talk to you, right? And Liz, I want you to do the same thing. Get
Right.
They be rocking the house, man. I can see that.
Yeah. So that's my, if I can say, professional opinion. I like this, and please, you know, if you don't have the time to do production on one of your podcasts, you want to do something, but you just don't want to do it on yours, then call me. You know, let me know. I'll definitely do it again. You know, feel free to. This is your official alternate studio. All right. This is your. And I'm going to say it. It says Marvin and Liz talking about grief and mourning.
Yeah.
It's going to stay. Yeah.
I appreciate that. This is great on so many levels.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No. Definitely.
We're giving you 10, Charlie. You've been amazing.
I know, Charlie. Good question.
You're amazing.
Thank you. You helped me half the way, Marvin. I appreciate it. And but this is what I like doing. This is what I did for many, many years, is interview people.
Yeah, you're a great interviewer, brother.
And I try to interview people And the old saying, you have the right to remain silent. I don't do that here on this podcast. I want you to talk.
No,
talk.
I get that.
Yeah.
I get that, brother.
All right. If there's anything you need, we are connected in many ways, whether it's cell phones, messenger, or anything, just call me. If you see the little light on Facebook, if it's on, that means I'm up.
Okay.
If it's football season, I'm up. If it's basketball season, I'm up. But I tell everybody, you want to know what Charlie's doing, just look on Facebook, and if I'm signed on Facebook, that means my phone's on and I can answer the phone. All right.
Cool. Thank you, my brother.
Thank you.
All right, Liz. High five. Marvin, high five. Electronic hug. I love both of you. And yes, you need me, give me a holler.
All right. 9:30 or 10.
10 a.m. my time.
Okay. Call you 10.
All right. Thank you. Thank you again, Charlie. Good night.
You can listen to my favorite song, and we will end this. This song was performed by Lionel Peter Walker, and it's my favorite intro and my favorite song. So I'll see you all every Tuesday. I'm on WNB1 Radio. I'm here on Facebook Live, YouTube, LinkedIn, Spotify. Just trying to make other people shine on this podcast. So please, Really Charlie Podcast at gmail.com. All right, y'all. Love and peace.
It's the Really Charlie Podcast. Yeah, it's the Really Charlie Podcast. Bump into your broadcast, grab a chair, fill your glass. Yeah, yo, it's